Okay, so here we are, we're adding fractions. And adding fractions is a pretty simple thing to do, as long as you follow one really important rule. And that really important rule is our denominators have to be the same. So let's just start with an example. I've got 1/2 plus 1/4. Now, when we have something like this, I can't add it together as it sits at the moment. I can't just go, that equals 2/6. Because remember, when we have a fraction, our denominator represents how many parts we need to make one whole. So we actually don't have one whole in any fraction. That's why it's called a fraction. It's a fraction of a number, okay? Our numerator tells us how many we actually have, or how many parts we have of that whole number. So in this instance, we have one part of 2, and here we have one part of 4. Now what we could do is we could draw pictures, okay? So I've got 1/2, and then I've got 1/4, okay? And I could add those together through visual representation. But what we need to learn how to do is we need to learn how to find common denominators, okay? I follow a really simple rule when I find common denominators. And it goes like this. I look at the little denominator, and then I look at the big one, and I say, can I turn the little one into the big one by multiplying? In this instance, I can. I can turn a 2 into a 4 by multiplying by 2, okay? And if I multiply by 2, I end up with 2/4, and then this fraction stays the same. And all of a sudden, my denominators are the same. So I can now add these together, okay? It equals 3/4. But when we have a situation where we've got one, let's say I've got 2/3 plus 1/5. In this one here, I can't turn a 3 into a 5. So what I do then, step 2, if I can't turn the little one into the big one, then what I do is I look at the number and I multiply the denominators together. And I say 3 times 5 gives me 15. So that means that my denominators are going to be 15ths, okay? And so now what I do is I look at how many times did I need to multiply 3 to make 15? And the answer to that is sitting there right in front of you. It's 5. So whatever I do to the bottom there, I have to do to the top. Likewise, with this one, I say how many times did I have to multiply 5 to make 15? And that was 3. Whatever I do to the bottom, I need to do to the top. So I do 2 times 5, which gives me 10, and then 1 times 3, which gives me 3. Now I'm ready to add my fractions together. So that gives me 13/15, and I'm done. Happy days. So that's denominators. You need to have the same denominators. Now, what happens if we have improper or mixed numbers? So let's say I've got this one here, but I've got 2/3 plus 6/5. Well, essentially nothing changes. You can do exactly the same process. Okay, and this is the thing about mixed numbers and improper fractions. As long as you simplify your answer at the end, you end up with the same amount anyway. So I multiply this side by 5, it gives me 10 again, and I multiply this side by 3. This time I've got 18. I can add these together, I've got 28/15, okay? And now I need to turn it into a mixed number, okay? So I take 15 out of there, and that gives me 1, and then I have 13/15 left over, okay? If I have something that looks like this, 2 1/3 plus 1 3/7, okay? I can simply just add the whole numbers to start off with. So I can do 2 plus 1, which gives me 3, and now I can work out my common denominators. So 3 times 7 gives me 21, okay? 7 times 1 is 7, and 3 times 3 gives me 9/21. And now I just add those two together. So 7 plus 9 gives me 16/21, and that's my answer. I can't simplify that fraction anymore. So that's basically adding fractions in a nutshell. So remember, you have to have the same denominators, okay? It doesn't really matter if your fractions are improper or mixed numbers. You can just add your mixed numbers together, okay, at the beginning. You could add them together at the end. It doesn't really matter. As long as we get to, obviously with this one here, we have a large improper fraction after we added, and then we turned it back into a mixed number. So whenever you're adding or subtracting or doing anything with fractions, your very last answer should always be a simplified fraction, and if it's an improper fraction, we need to turn it into a mixed number. So that's adding fractions.